Hey everyone, welcome. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today for this explainer. We're going to be breaking down the psychological barriers of fear, looking really closely at the brilliant insights from the Architecture of Audacity. If you've ever felt kind of stuck or held back from doing something you really wanted to do, well, this was designed exactly for you.
So, what have you been avoiding? Just think about it for a second. Think about that specific dream, or that side project, maybe even a really difficult conversation you just keep putting off. The material we're looking at today isn't just some abstract theory. It's more like a mirror reflecting our own hesitations. It really forces us to confront exactly why we hesitate, and way more importantly, how we can finally move past it.
Okay, let's dive into this with Section 1, the Central Manifesto. We're going to be deconstructing the call to bold action.
Now, this incredibly powerful excerpt really anchors everything we'll talk about today. It says, do the thing you have been avoiding. If you succeed, you will achieve something great. If you fail, you will learn something great. Either way, something great happens. Just let that sink in for a minute. It directly challenges the status quo by guaranteeing a great outcome no matter what actually happens, just as long as you act.
So, why does this matter so much right now? Well, because in today's modern world, the fear of failure literally prevents people from pursuing their dreams. We're just so terrified of messing up, or looking foolish in front of everybody, that we end up doing absolutely nothing at all. It's like we're locked in a cage of our own making.
And that leads us to a really profound shift in perspective in Section 2, Reframing Success and Failure. This is all about creating a win-win scenario for personal growth.
And this brilliantly illustrates how we completely dismantle that traditional binary of success versus failure. On the one hand, you achieve something great, but on the other hand, you learn something great. Both of these potential outcomes are immensely valuable. Suddenly, failure isn't this terrifying dead end anymore, right? Actually, it's a super powerful learning tool and just another form of forward momentum.
But to get to either of those great outcomes, you really have to embrace the power of action. You absolutely must take decisive steps. You've got to face uncertainty head-on and purposefully step outside your comfort zone. You can't just think or plan your way to greatness. You literally have to physically step out into the unknown.
Now here is where we hit a real aha moment. Section 3, the psychology of critics. Let's unpack exactly why other people project their fears onto your bold action.
Consider this insight from the text. Never let yourself be held back by other people's fears. People criticize what they are afraid to do themselves. It is such a brilliant connection. When someone criticizes your ambition, a lot of times it has absolutely nothing to do with you. Your bold action is simply reminding them of their own inaction.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how we can redefine criticism entirely. It's essentially just a projection of one's own insecurities onto others, triggered because your action highlights their inaction. It really shows us that criticism is a reflection of the critic, not the creator. It's their fear, not your flaw.
Therefore, the only logical move here is to just ignore external criticism and focus solely on your personal goals. Detaching from the projected fears of others is a fundamental requirement for moving forward. Think about it. If you carry their fears around with you, you'll never have the strength to take your own leap.
Let's move to and see how this builds into our final core concept in Section 4, Building Ultimate Resilience. We're going to look at turning that initial bold action into unshakable self-confidence.
So here is the actionable roadmap, and the logical flow is just perfect. Step 1, you take bold action to break the inertia. Step 2, you ignore external criticism, knowing for sure it's just projected fear. Step 3, you learn from the outcomes, whether that's a massive success or a temporary failure. And finally, Step 4, you build resilience. Overcoming that initial burst of fear translates directly into lasting self-confidence.
Let's clearly contrast these two states. When you choose inaction, your focus is entirely misdirected onto other people's fears, which just results in stagnation and constantly avoiding the unknown. But when you choose audacity, your focus shifts inward to your own personal goals. And the outcome? Well, it's resilience, self-confidence, and some massive personal development.
So the crucial point is that learning from both successes and failures is what actually builds that resilience. It isn't some magical trait you're just born with. No, it's simply a byproduct of consistent learning and consistent action, totally regardless of the immediate outcome.
Which brings us to the ultimate truth of this entire framework. Taking bold action is often the very first step towards achieving truly extraordinary results. A single decisive step is literally all it takes to break the cycle of fear. You don't need to have the entire path perfectly figured out. You just need the audacity to take that first step.
So I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. Based on everything we've talked about today, what bold action are you going to take right now? Seriously, don't wait for tomorrow. Use this framework to break your own cycle of hesitation today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait for you to discover what great things happen when you finally do the thing you've been avoiding.